Well, good morning, everyone. My name's David McCann, for those of you that don't know me. And it's a privilege to be here today to provide you with this debriefing on the results of the Applied Managerial Communications Research Project that I performed here. I'm happy to be here working with you folks from the University of Lincoln, Douglas Sarpy County Extension. The purpose of the Applied Research Project was twofold. One was to do resolve a managerial communication issue within your organization, and then the second thing was running parallel to that was to demonstrate how executive coaching can be used as an effective tool to do exactly that, resolve managerial communication issues. There were three coaching hypotheses that kind of cascaded one into the other. My initial hunch when I was doing the web research and just talking to some people is that this is a multi-parented organization. The Douglas, the Sarpy counties, and then also the university. And so I began to look at it as perhaps maybe there's some systems forces working here, and that people may be divided allegiances or something along those lines. And the more that I drilled into it, I looked and I found that perhaps it was it was a work approach differences in the administrative position, assistant's position. What I mean by that is that there was a stark contrast in the previous administrative assistant and the recently or the newly hired administrative assistant. As I began to drill down even further, what came into focus is what I term as a work approach variance in the administrative position assistant's personality and the way that she, the newly hired administrative assistant approaches work. And the methods or the stages of what I looked at was, first, we had the initial contact meeting. I talked with Vernon and I talked with the administrative assistant, and we developed a plan on how to proceed forward. We also used some strength-based assessment, specifically Strength Finders from the Gallup Corporation. We did some field interviews, or what we look at or refer to in the coaching world as a 360 assessments. We wanted to get a circumspect view of what the actual issue was that was causing the managerial communication issue. And then we did, after that, we did some communication awareness coaching. Just a bit on that. We took the Strength Finders assessments of both Vernon and the administrative assistant, and I individually went through them with each of them, awareing them as to how they process information. And then we brought the two of them together in a joint meeting, and so that they could understand how each other processes information, which was key to bringing resolution to this issue. And then we had an action planning session. The results from the research was a few bits of information. First of all, there was hardly anyone within the organization that wasn't aware that the accounting system was in need of improvements, and most agreed that the new administrative assistant was tackling that issue very, very effectively. The next thing that we found was that there was uncertainty about the job title and the duties and the responsibilities of this position. Now, employees who had been here for a while had offered an historical perspective on that issue, seeing it and shining light on how that had developed over the years from administrative assistant to administrative assistant and to the point to where we are now. And then what was noticeable was the variances in work approach by your administrative assistant. And those were stark contrast and how she was, the perception that she gave off when she was performing, one, accounting duties, and then two, the other than accounting duties. And the impact was there was disruption to the extension's daily routines. There was a noticeable, how should we put it, a disturbance in the force, if you will. The recommendations or the coaching solutions follow this framework. First of all, it's very, very important to point out the differences between coaching solutions and your typical research solutions. Typically in research, the researcher itself, as most of you are familiar with, is that they've analyzed the data and then recommend a solution. But in coaching, it's based off the humanistic model. We believe that the answer's on the inside of you or the subject matter expert. And it's our guide, it's our duty and responsibility to act as a guide for a self-directed course or solution. We act as a guide to the subject matter expert, if you will, to help flesh out and raise out the plan of attack. Now, the next thing that we did was, so the ideas that came out of that individual meeting with your unit leader was the review of administrative position description, specifically to clarify the other than accounting duties. And then the next step is that he's gonna brief you all here on his findings to bring clarity to this position. Now, the last thing that I would have here is recommended future actions. Now, what I would recommend is that everyone in the extension be provided an opportunity to be given a strengths-based assessment. Now, I ran across it during the research, a lot of you have. And in that case, I would recommend that you be provided with some coaching opportunities to understand and flesh out and raise the awareness of how it is that you communicate, and then finally, in a group session, to understand how each other communicates. That is clearly the line of what helped us bring or come up with an action plan for bringing resolution to this, to your managerial communication issue here. The idea is that there is the effect of people's strengths, especially in this case, when performing two separate duties, is what was the awareness that was brought to the surface, and then moving forward and solving that. The last thing I want to say is thank you all very, very much. You were very, very cordial and welcoming, and a lot of times when we go into organizations to solve communication issues, there can be some challenges and some walls, and in this organization, it was very, very easy, and we're all very, very cooperative. So at this point in time, I can take some questions and answers.